Help! My kid is using drugs. What do I do? Don't panic. Finding out your teenager is doing drugs is probably one of a parent's biggest nightmares. Drug addiction, as we all know, can have terrible consequences, and that's definitely not a road you want your teen going down. But before we talk about drug use any further, I want you to stop, breathe, because it's going to be okay. Both you and your teen are going to be okay. The first thing I think we need to remember is that your teenager isn't the first kid to use drugs. About half of all teenagers drink a little bit here and there, and about a third smoke a little weed. It's fairly typical teenage behavior to experiment with drugs. So don't freak out. It happens even to the best of kids. Your first step is to evaluate the severity of drug use and identify which type of drug is being used. Listen, we don't want our kids doing any drugs, but there's a big difference between your kid smoking a little weed on the weekends versus him or her using LSD or cocaine. Your kid popping pain pills will need a different approach than a kid who just drinks alcohol. So firstly, identify the type of drug being used and then try to figure out the frequency. Frequency matters because a kid using drugs doesn't necessarily mean he or she is addicted to drugs. And addiction is a completely different ballgame. Secondly, I think you need to try to identify the reasons behind the drug use. Is your teenager bored? Is he stressed? Is he succumbing to peer pressure? Maybe it's all of the above. This is where a good therapist comes in who specializes in adolescence. You need to get your kid to counseling to try to identify the emotional drivers behind that behavior. Because if the emotional drivers aren't identified and addressed, the behavior will continue. The next step is a little more difficult, and you'll probably get more negative feedback from your kid. But if you suspect, even in the smallest way, that your teen's friends are pressuring him or her to use, which is often the case, you must limit his or her exposure to those friends. Once again, you're the parent. You know what's best for your child, and if you think his or her friends are doing drugs, then there's a huge chance that they're doing drugs together with your child. You must put a stop to those friendships, or at least limit them as much as possible, no matter how difficult it might be, because it could save your child's life. Finally, get help. There are services in many cities available to families who are in crisis. Where I live, there's a program called the FINS program, which is basically a program, it's a low-level probation where your child is assigned a probation officer, they get random drug screens, free counseling is available, and it's just a little extra support to help those families who may be struggling with a substance abuse issue. Look, there's help available. Get help. You will figure it out. You will get through this. I'm Joel Doherty with Lake Area Counseling. Good luck.
Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed that video from Lake Area Counseling. Hey, we're putting videos out every week on YouTube. Like us, subscribe to us. We're going to be talking about marriage, family, of course teenagers. You've got questions, we've got answers, addressing all types of behavioral issues. Like us on Facebook. We'll see you soon.